Hello, Midnight TCG members. This is Midnight Fox. We're coming to you this week with Midnight TCG's Competitive Edge podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about rocks. So, who wants to be a rock star? Anyways, this week we have Jinzaki recording. Unfortunately, he's unable to speak, so he can't speak up for himself. We have Eddie.
So that means we get to install him all podcasts, right?
That's right, and the only thing he can do is write in the text box of doom.
There is no text box.
And we have Nomad and his Muka Muka obsession.
Yep.
First of all, though, before we get into rocks, I want to congratulate our three people who actually participated in the Flash tournament this last week. I did throw quite the curveball in. Like I said, I probably won't do it that meanly again, at least for a while. Was a pretty hard one to overcome. But what a lot of people didn't, the two people who dropped out probably didn't think about was only game one did you have to have half of it Sea Serpents and 5 card of the week, 5 worst card of the week. In game 2 and game 3, you could have put in all Sea Serpents, because it was a Sea Serpent side.
To be honest, I would have made sure I made that, in the opening description, just as an FYI for next time.
I would probably have used like as few Sea Serpents as possible, to be honest, and just milked stuff like Monster Reborn the whole time.
Well, I seen this was actually a very good week to watch. I saw a lot of variations, and I saw some actual uses out of worst card of the weeks that played out pretty well. So, I mean, the Flash tournaments, they're all about getting you to think competitively, think outside of the box, and think of your deck as a whole and not just what everyone's playing. What can I do that my opponent's not going to expect? So, big shout out to the guys who participated this week, GMN, Eddie, and KyoU. It was a hard week. So, I'm not going to throw out a twist like that this coming week with rocks, but you know me, there's always going to be a twist. So, but you got an idea of, we're going to be going over rocks. So, rocks, basically, the big thing rocks are good for are bouncing cards and having spectacular defense and flip effects that can be game breaking if you can pull off the right combos. I wouldn't say that as an archetype within itself it's heavily supported, but definitely some good support cards have come out of this archetype within itself. So as we do, and we've been doing since we started our archetype discussions, we're going to start out with staples. So from my end, I would definitely say one of my ideas on a rock staple is definitely going to be Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo. He doesn't pack a good punch at 1200 attack and 1300 defense, but his ability to stun special summon can be game breaking. Not a lot of play seen from him here over the last few metas, but he's definitely not one to be forgotten. Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo really was the beginning of anti-meta. As the game sped up, he was the first card that we really got that made an impact on special summon decks. So definitely, if not a main deck thing, I can understand, but definitely a good thought for a side deck rock monster. My second one would have to be Gachi Gachi Gantetsu. New Xyz monster, but his ability to boost your monster's attack and defense by 200 for each Xyz unit on him gives good boost to powerful monsters. Plus, instead of being destroyed, you can drop his Xyz units. You're dropping 200 attack and defense from your monsters, but you got a monster who's safe on the field. He's a rank 2. There are a lot of rank 2s. If you run an emergency teleport, Krebin's heavy deck, he's definitely a staple you're going to want to have in there. If you run Ricos, there's just a lot of good level 2s that you can combo into easily to get gotchi out very easily. Protect your field. I mean, turning a 1900 TKRO into a 2300 TKRO that gives you the ability to stun your opponent is great. So definitely, I'd say Gotchi Gantetsu has found his way into staples in the extra deck. And my last staple, and he's been around for quite some time, amazingly not seen an exorbitant amount of play, is going to be Morphinjar. This guy is the ultimate reset button. Once he flips, discard your hand, you draw 5 new cards. So if you got a bad hand, he's a good card to draw into. The only disadvantage is with Dark Worlds really picking up. If you end up playing against a Dark World deck, it could hurt. So, depending on what your local scene looks like, maybe he would go to your side deck. But if you know you're not going to see a whole lot of Dark World, I made him in almost every deck because I can always use a reset. I'm very good at emptying out my hands, especially when I get a good combo going. So, with that, that is the Fox's thoughts on rock staples. What about you, Eddie?
For mine, I'm going to go with Neospacian Grand Mole. It's a rather good little ditty to have, considering it's limited to 1. Being able to take it and bounce one of your opponent's monsters and it, always a good thing to be able to do. I'm going to go with number 30, some stupid thing. Number 30, Acid Golem of Destruction. Being able to burn your opponent for 2,000 and be able to have a 3,000 ranked 3 out. That is a force to be reckoned with, so to speak.
The only problem that comes from that is if he has no Xyz units or you don't drop one, you're taking 2,000 damage. After you get rid of his Xyz units, I think he's a good creature swap monster to throw out there.
Yep. It's a bit of a dick move, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm going to creature swap, and...
Yeah, but creature swap is awesome.
Yeah, I creature swap you my amoeba and win.
But even like amoeba, it's kind of reminiscent of Lava Golem too, right?
Yep. Lava Golem you can just drop from your hand and go, well, I don't like those 2 exceeds, so... kill them, and then I'll eat them.
Yeah, you'll eat them. Well, you'll eat them. Or you'll have Lava Golem eat them. I don't know if the players really don't want eating them, right?
Yeah, that's the funniest part, whenever he gets eaten by one of the players. And one of my favorites, I'm going to have to say, and I don't see it being a staple because I don't see it being ran very often, would be Dummy Golem. Set it, make your opponent have Swords Revealing Light for at least a turn, flip Dummy Golem, switch.
It has to survive though, which is kind of crummy.
Yeah, I know.
But I saw that actually ran in a Gladiator Beast build one time, and the guy had he ran Wabakus. It was kind of a cool tech, and I thought it was kind of a cool tech in that build that I saw.
But yeah, that's all from me for staples. Nomad Europe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you guys brought them all up, right? I mean, Acid Golem is a very, very interesting card, I think. I mean, it's not only reminiscent of Lava Golem, but, you know, it's a rank 3. It's got extremely high attack in that rank at 3,000. And then, like you mentioned, with the creature swap or all that, as far as not being able to attack, you know, if you're playing it, it's probably not going to survive that long anyway. So I don't really see it as being a giant detriment. It's more of like you have a rank 3 option, you get your out, you make your play, and you're in the clear. Yeah, you can get thrown in front of some walls and you're in trouble, I guess, if you have to keep taking damage and you lose your win condition. But it's still a very interesting card. I mean, Gachi as well. It's something I find, I don't know if this is really just in my area or what I've heard about, but like a lot of people that I've seen or heard about it, forgetting that it will also boost all the rest of your monsters. It's not just attack and defense on him. Like, you have a Gachi Gachi out, right? And then you summon another monster. Your other monsters get them the boost as well. It's not just Gachi Gachi.
Exactly.
Like, have you guys like found that as a reoccurring brain fart?
Not for me. I've noticed it. I've ran into people who tend to forget about that.
Well, exactly. It's like
It's
like with Dark Ruler.
I played against them, and they start to take away 400 extra life points. When I hit one of their monsters, I'm like, you do realize that you've got a boost there. You know, I could take the cheating way and say, okay, well, you could take that extra damage, but $400 can make the difference, or $400.
$400 can always make a difference in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh yeah.
And
Especially in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Illegal.
But it's not your style though, right, Fox? It's not your style.
I am a pretty honest person. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think.
Now,
At least try to be. So are we moving on to our favorites?
well, if Nomad doesn't have another staple,
Well, I mean, what else can we say? Right? I mean, I can say Cyberjar, but
It's
that's for
banned.
a different. Yeah, that's for a different format altogether.
all right. Well, then we'll move on to staples.
You mean
You mean
favorites?
favorites?
Our favorites. Favorites. Dong, dong, dong.
Are you sure you're not the one who took the loopy medicine there, Jin?
I done told you I had my loopy meds too.
I feel loopy as balls too.
Eddie
Like
kind of hit on one of my favorites, Grand Mole. I mean, level 3, send him out, bounce your opponent's monster. So if you're running into a problem with Zen mains or something, it's still a way to get it off the field. So Grand Mole is definitely a good utility card. I don't know if he could particularly go into any deck, but he's definitely a good side deckable item depending on what you run into, because a lot of the problems we run into in today's meta are the Xyz and the Synchro monsters that are just so broken, like Zen mains. If you try to destroy it and your opponent turns around and negates that and gets to destroy something on your field, they have control of your field. So being able to bounce with a Grand Mole is so much better. So definitely one of the Fox's faves. I'm going to give tribute back to when I played Dark Gaia. Big Piece Golem. Level 5, 2100 attack. If your opponent has a monster and you don't, you get to normal summon him without tributing. He was one of my dogs to go to before Gaia Plate hit in Dark Gaia. So yes, there goes your point. That, like I said quite a few podcasts ago, I ran Dark Gaia before it was ever popular, and he was definitely a staple in that deck. And I do like his ability. And with today's meta, with cards like Adrius and Tyrus, he's definitely a good level 5 to possibly think about throwing in there. There are ways to boost and lower monsters' levels to get into your ranks, but this guy's just a level 5 himself. So, definitely, he's somewhat on my higher faves. You mentioned it before. I wish this card would come back. Cyberjar. Love my Cyberjar. His flip effect to destroy all monsters on the field, and then you pop out the top 5 cards of your deck and special summon all level 4 or lower monsters in whatever position you want. And I mean, that card is broken, so we're probably not going to see it for a while. But I remember back when I first started playing, being able to play that, Cyberjar could end up potentially being a game breaker.
Oh, it always was. Like, yeah, it was always either a game breaker or one of those cards that, like, it was either a game breaker or something that like made you go into end of match procedures. There's like, it would either end your game or make the time limit end your game.
And I seem to always do this. go into 4, but I think that's because I was thinking a big piece golem, but I can't leave out Guardian Sphinx. Once per turn, you get to flip him into face down defense position, and whenever he's flip summoned, you bounce everything back to your opponent's hand as far as their monsters. Guardian Sphinx is another card that if your opponent's playing something and it swarms the field quickly, this guy could be the surprise laying on the field because not a whole lot of players play tributed monsters face down. So he could be a nice little surprise. Of course, his effect doesn't go off if he's attacked by battle, but if your opponent's afraid to hit him because they don't know what he is, because you played him face down, he's definitely a good surprise against swarmers. So that kind of rounds out my favorites, and with that, I'll pass on favorites to Eddie.
Gonna go with... I'm gonna have to take all mine and group them together. My first group goes to the Magna/Magnet Warriors. Alpha, Beta, and Gamma.
You ever notice how easy it was for Yugi to summon them?
Yes, because Yugi cheated, though.
Yes,
he always cheated. He stacked, he cheated, he broke... I don't see him as a hero, honestly.
Like, I mean, being able to take... Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't see him as a hero at all. He would cheat, and he would lose against, like, so many bad players. Like, when he was playing Pegasus, and Pegasus had game 1, he had the game 1, like, so many turns, and he wouldn't make the play, and I'm like, it's horrible. I can't watch the anime. Honestly, I can't, because I criticize everything, and it's not fun for me. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's...
If I could take...
Alpha and Gamma are really hard to actually get into Valkyrion, but by themselves, they're not horrible cards.
Yeah, being able to pull those 3 and be able to drop them into your grave, and to be able to pull, drop him, and then... If you really, really want to, tribute all 3 of them to tribute Valkyria to drop all 3, so you can do a special summon you son of a gun on Dueling Network.
And then the ability to switch them back and forth once you get Valkyrion out.
Yeah.
It's decent.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like with Gate Guardian, wouldn't you think he would have the ability to, like, to separate? I mean, if you watch Power Rangers, when they have the Megazord, they could always go and become the Zords again.
I think that's what I hated about Gate Guardian. Gate Guardian is by far one of my favorite secrets, and I love the set and the fact that I have all the originals, but it was that you have to put all 3 of these monsters combined to make Gate Guardian, who's a big beater, yes, but...
It's a waste. It's like if you have the 3 pieces on the field, like, unless you need higher attack, and even now, I mean, aren't at least 2 of them level 7?
Yep, I found only one way to abuse him, and that was in a creator deck. And running 3 copies of each of them. That was the only way I could get Gate Guardian out.
Well, yes, but Gate Guardian's a warrior, so...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's still... I mean, it shares, the combination aspect, and, like, you have the Magnet Warriors that are kind of like the...
They're tribute to Voltron and Power Rangers.
Well, yeah, they're kind of modeled after that stuff, too. It's kind of cool, and... I mean, I like Power Rangers. I would like to get back to watching the whole series of Power Rangers in Space and Lost Galaxy. Because, like, I always remembered enjoying it when I was a kid, but never really went back to revisit it. I will eventually.
Okay.
And maybe even...
Okay, anyway, going in a roundabout way, getting back to the subject at hand, my next combo that I'm going to have to throw together to make it as a favorite are the Light, Dark, and Earth Hexial fusions. Pretty useful when you can use them properly, of course. Fox already took my... one of my favorites was Guardian Sphinx. So to round out my top 3, I'm going to throw out Castlegate.
Darn it, you have to...
Castlegate! Castlegate.
It can't be destroyed by battle. Yes.
What about Labyrinth Wall? Isn't Labyrinth Wall a rock?
Well, yes, Labyrinth Wall can be destroyed by battle, though.
Yeah, but it has that 3,000 defense, and you can giant rat that guy out.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a 0 attack, so...
Are you sure? I'm trying to remember if it was Labyrinth Wall or... There was one of them that's summoned by a ritual card. Are you sure that's not the ritual?
No, like, I'm thinking of Labyrinth Wall is the level 5 or level 6 normal... It's a normal monster.
Wait, what?
Labyrinth Wall.
Labyrinth Wall is just a normal monster. 5 stars, 0 attack, 3,000 defense.
Yeah. It's like... Okay, so what's the ritual? What's the ritual one then?
I'm trying to remember.
What, a rock ritual?
Because like, I know
it was one of the walls. It had to do...
We had Wall Shadow, and you had to equip Labyrinth Wall with
Magical Labyrinth.
Yeah, and then you could special summon it from your hand or deck.
Well, see,
so, like,
and what you didn't cover on Castle Gate as well, though, Eddie, is you can also tribute one level 5 or lower monster to do damage to your opponent.
Yeah, he's a burner.
Monster's attack, so he's a burner, and he can't be destroyed.
Yep.
So what? And the other thing that's really good about the Hexsteel fusions, I'm glad you brought them up. I wanted to, but I didn't want to take up too much of the podcast, is the fact that they do not require polymerization.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the good positives of using the Hexsteel fusions.
Well, yeah, because you can special summon the fusion monster, and if the fusion monster doesn't have a silly requirement about like needing specific names or needing to be summoned through a fusion summon, you can get them out a lot faster.
So, well, I would say you could do it for like the evil heroes, but you can't do that because they require dark calling or dark fusion.
There's a lot of stuff that can't work with them, but for what you can, and it's like and the only real downside is that it has to be in your control, like on the field. You can't, because you can't apply the effect in your hand, right?
They have to be on the field.
Yeah, so you have to lose your normal summon essentially if you're using that effect. But if you're simply using it as a material and you're playing, let's say, your polymerization or your fusion gate or whatever, then you can just have it that way, and
yep,
it's very neat cards.
But if you also want to, you can also go with like Gaia Plate, the Earth Giant as well. Just to throw that one out there too.
I like Gaia Plate in the evil heroes, but that was until he became the go-to guy.
Mm-hmm.
But his special summon being so easy was always great. So what else, Eddie? Any other favorites?
Nope, other than the ones that have already been touched.
All right, we'll pass it on to Nomad then.
Okay, you guys already brought up a Guardian Sphinx, which is, probably the first monster I thought of when reading this stuff over. I actually ran a pretty cool deck back in the day with when we had 3 brain controls and Snatch Steal. All that was legal. It was an interesting time because it wasn't really very difficult to play that on the field, and it was pretty fun. Brain control, even stuff like Soul Exchange, because if you're playing it face down, you're probably not going to have your battle phase anyway. So it was a good way of getting rid of any monster that my opponent had and getting my Sphinx down. And then it's either I make them attack into a monster that I have with pretty strong defense, or they elect not to make that play, and then I'm in control again. I
think it's a card a lot of people have forgotten about too, that could be a game changer, was Soul Exchange.
Yeah, it's ran like in Monarchs and whatnot now, but it's pretty cool. And even if you run cards like Enemy Controller, like it doesn't have to be for a tribute summon. It's just any time that you would tribute in your turn, right? So you could play Soul Exchange and then use Enemy Controller and tribute an opponent's monster and to control one of theirs. It could happen. I made that play like once in my life only though, so it's not really a very reoccurring thing. Other than that, I mean, you have the Golem Sentry, which is kind of like a smaller version of Guardian Sphinx. Its defense is only 1800, but when you flip summon him, you return an opponent's monster up to the hand, and it's pretty cool because if you run a Golem Sentry and or Legendary Jewmaster, it's kind of like there's like a right or a wrong play depending on your opponent's raid. You can kind of play off that because like one of them you want to have attacked and one of them you don't, and I like the variety in that. Along with those guys, I mean, like Gigantus is pretty awesome. Along with Rock Spirit before him, you mentioned Fossil Dyna. What was that, Eddie?
I thought you said. Did you say Gigantes?
Oh yeah, I love Gigantus.
He's good.
Like we had Rock Spirit before, but Gigantus too. Just
remove one, and he's out on the field. And when he blows up Spell and Trap Zone.
And like I ran him in my Magical Hat deck with like Gear Towns, and it was pretty cool. Even if it was just like a beater or a special summon, and then if he is, I destroyed through battle with the Heavy Storm. And I ran stuff. I ran a lot of cards like Dimensional Prison and things that I could play even before he died, if need be, or if he dies, right? And I don't know if I'd run him today a whole lot, but it was neat, especially when Heavy Storm was banned for that short time.
We're waiting for your trademark, Nomad.
Oh, he's coming up. He's coming up. I got a list here that I'm going through. It's all it's kind of spur of the moment, to be honest. But what about Morphing Jar number 2? Like I would almost argue that it's more interesting and creative than even the original Morphing Jar.
It is an interesting card to run, but the only thing I don't like about Jar number 2 is the ability for it to backfire on you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, all those jar cards
deck, it's good.
But I mean, like all those jar cards are kind of like a gamble, right? I mean, like all of them. Like even like you have your Morphing Jar, you have your Cyber Jar, Morphing Jar, even like Dice Jar,
Fiber Jar.
Oh yeah. Oh, I hate Fiber Jar.
Oh, I hate Fiber Jar. That card comes just for one format.
Oh no, that would be horrible. When my games go long.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like it's not a rock, is it?
No, Fiber Jar is a plant.
A plant, yeah. Well, that'd make more sense. I mean, you could have plants growing out of rocks too, right? Like, you see these trees, like around where I live in the mountains. There's like these trees who grow out of rocks. And it's like
they're growing out cactuses. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, and of course you guys mentioned Grand Mole, who's probably the best rock in the game, short of Muka Muka. So, I mean, we obviously have. We have to mention it, right?
Of course.
And Muka
Muka.
Oh yeah, but as far as Grand Mole though, it's I think it's really cool because like not only are you getting rid of a threat, but with the rise of Xyz and even the Synchro monsters, you're getting them off, and you get to keep your Grand Mole. And it's a very mental card, I find too, because like you have an out, and you still have your ammunition later on, and as long as you can kind of keep the monster advantage even, like as long as your monster counts are even close to even, it's good. It's when you have to play it every turn is when it kind of gets to be like you're not making any progress, and that's where it kind of fails. But I mean, it's.
But if you get out a couple of good big beaters,
oh for sure,
your opponent's field pretty well cleared except for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can keep your opponent on the defensive when they really don't want to be like that, it's a game winner.
I think that's the big thing with rocks, is they're a control-based type as far as field presence. That's what rocks are best at.
Well, yeah, for sure. And it's like all the bouncing stuff is kind of funny, but if you look at even the few that we've all mentioned, all of them are highly reactive. like even something like Fossil Dyna, which is normally played preemptively. You have the flip face up, right? And then you destroy all special summon monsters, and it's it's hard. But also, if you guys are into more of just like a couple cool cards that you may not have heard of before, but the artwork is kind of like enlightening or whatever, look up a card called Millennium Golem. And there's it's Soul of Silver Mountain too.
I remember the Millennium Golem. Isn't he the normal monster?
Oh yeah, I have no idea what it does, but it's like a Millennium Golem, and a lot of the artwork is same as the Yugi puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
If that kind of rings a bell. It's
The other one being...
Well, Soul of Silver Mountain, it's an Xyz monster. I think it's a level 3, or I mean a rank, it's a rank 2 or rank 3. And you target a spell or trap card, I believe a set one, and it can't be played during that turn. And then if it destroys a monster by battle, you special summon a rock monster from your graveyard in defense mode.
Something everyone's forgetting, Giant Soldier of Steel. He was just released in Abyss Rising.
Oh, really?
Level
It's out now?
Z's. Yes.
What's...
He's a burner. You drop...
Yeah, but like, what does he do? Like, Giant Soldier of Steel.
Let me double check, because I was actually thinking of doing a write-up on him, and I took a quick glance.
I mean, I guess I could look it up online right now.
Oh, I've got him going right now.
You got him going?
Giant
You should, like, send me a link, and we'll, like, pretend to have this,
He's a 2 level 3 rock type monster, so he's going to be stuck in a rock deck. He's unaffected by other monsters' effects, and once per turn, during either turn, you can detach an Xyz material from him, and he gains 1,000 defense, and he's already at 2,000 defense. And until the end phase, you take no effect damage from your opponent's card effects this turn. So,
that's kind of cool.
See a lot of burn in your area. He could be a good side deck level 3 Xyz, but that's if you run enough rocks to make him viable.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being run, I guess maybe in Rockstun, but I don't know if there are any, like, a whole lot of level 3 rocks that be played, right? I mean, most of them are level 4, aren't they? Like, Drew Master's level 3, I think, and then, I guess, well, Grand Mole. Yeah, Grand Mole's level 3, but you're not going to want to excuse a Grand Mole.
What I really like about that, though, is the first part, is that he's unaffected by other monsters' effects.
Yeah.
Like,
that can be...
They can't pop him with Zen mains.
Well, and also, too, it's like even your own effects, right? Like,
yeah. Like, you could summon out Vanity's Fiend afterwards, or you could flip a Fossil Dyna, and it's not going to destroy him because he's not affected by other monsters' effects.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
So, a good tech card into a Rock Stun deck. Definitely something worth looking at.
Like, you still couldn't summon it, though, if you had Vanity's Fiend.
Well, if you summon Vanity's Fiend afterwards. After you have him on the field.
Well, yeah, but then, like, how would that matter, though?
Because it would stop your opponent from special summoning.
Well, yeah, but it would still prevent you. Like, it's just... That card itself is unaffected by the other monster's effects. It wouldn't make you as the player unaffected by your own effects.
I don't know. I think it was just a quick thought on him, but
no, it's cool because like if you have your Fossil Dynas and things, and especially if you're playing rocks, you're probably running that, and it's I don't know. I
trying to think of the other card that destroys all special summon monsters. Oh,
well, I mean, I guess you could play like what's that card called? A Breath of Light, and you wouldn't destroy him. Oh no, wait, it's a spell card. Never mind.
Yeah. See, I was first thinking of going to Seal of Orichalcos, but that's a field spell. So yeah, this is definitely a new guy, but for fans of rock monsters, he's definitely a guy to look at. Definitely the ability to stun your opponent, especially if you're running triplicate Fossil Dynas.
Well, I wonder what it looks like too. Like, is it like I'm kind of imagining it being like a
It
cross
kind of
between
looks like Steel or Giant Soldier of Stone, except it's steel. I'm going to send you a link to it.
Okay, because I really wouldn't be surprised if it looks kind of like you said, with Giant Soldier of Stone, but a bit of like Obsidian Dragon look to it, which is also a rock, I think.
Well, I know Eddie said his buddy likes to run rock stun.
Giant Soldier of Steel. This is awesome.
What do you think of him, Eddie? You taking a look at that link yet?
This looks like G1 Megatron. No, I'm serious. Look at that.
Is Eddie even there?
I'm here.
Like he looks like G1 Megatron with like a gladiator skirt on.
Here's an Abyss Rising card to pass on to your buddy, Eddie. Isn't it No2 that likes Rock Stun?
No.
Or is that Neto?
I don't know which one. I can't remember. My friends build so many decks anymore. They're more. One of them, Net2 is more along the lines of Magic. Natu is more Yu-Gi-Oh.
But definitely, out of the new set, he's definitely a good rock monster to look at.
Well, yeah, I definitely want that card. If nothing else, just for a cool,
He's a secret.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
But I
see the artwork.
I can't imagine it being too much though, to buy one of these. Like,
not yet, but with Xyz summons, Synchro summons, Synchro's kind of going out, Xyz coming more in. The ability to play this guy and people looking for ways to stun out decks that quickly go into Xyz monsters and Synchros. I think he might eventually gain popularity as more people start looking at running Rock Stun as a deck within itself.
Well, I mean, you also have a few new cards that have come out. I mean, like we have a Revival Golem that's fairly new, which is kind of like Wolf.
There was another one, and I can't remember. It's some kind of ram.
Oh yeah,
and he's a rock that came out in Abyss Rising. I just kind of taken a peek so far. I haven't gotten a box yet.
Yeah, I know what card you're talking about. I'm just drawing a blank as far as what it actually is.
I think when he's sent to the graveyard, he special summons himself back.
Well, that's because like I know like Revival Golem is special summoned or added to your hand when he goes from your deck to your graveyard. And I think we brought him up in an earlier recording too, at some point. I can't figure out how or why, but
well, he's definitely a good card to take a look at. I mean, definitely, I always try to take a look through the new sets. I've just started doing a few peeks. The big one I want to get out of the new set, and a lot of people probably aren't thinking about this, is One-Eyed Skill Gainer.
Oh yeah.
Because if your opponent's running Zen mains or something just as annoying, a lot of people first looked at the card, thought, oh, you can only use this once. You can only use his effect once.
Well.
But if you use that effect once and you're copying a Zen mains, you still have 2 units to drop for Zen mains. He basically becomes that monster. If your opponent's running Shockmaster, yeah, it costs you 3 level 4s, but you're getting to steal your opponent's Xyz monster, basically. You're getting to copy it. So it could be an annoying card. So definitely one. If anybody listens to the podcast and goes to the trading section, I want some One-Eyed Skill Gainers, guys.
Oh, there's the open invitation I see. Yeah. Like, I still haven't even looked at most of the cards. I remember like I know that card, Memory of an Adversary or whatever. It's like a trap card, and you activate it when your opponent declares an attack, and you take damage equal to the attacking monster's attack. You remove that monster from play, and then in 2 turns, you summon it to your control. And I'm, like, in the back of my mind, I'm kind of wondering, like, is that going to become very popular in the future, or will it just be forgotten about? I think it's really good myself, but
I think the one that a lot of people have been talking about that's just getting released is Tannhauser Gate. He's out of the new set. You get to target 2 face-up monsters you control with 1,000 or less attack, and they have to be the same type.
Oh yeah.
And then the level becomes equal to their combined levels. So
yeah, and people are talking about even stuff like Giant Germ and those kind of cards. I think it was Jinzo who was like, "Yeah, Giant Germ can be played again," and that kind of tickled my fancy.
Ginzo, remember? We don't want him to listen to it and go. Even Nomad called me Jinzo. Oh no!
Like, why else would I say it, right? I mean, I gotta spawn a reaction out of that guy.
And I'm just like, nope.
I know he's cool. Well,
with that,
he's like, he's one of my best friends, right? So it's like we always kind of.
I guess to kind of round it out as we usually do before we talk about what's going on the site, decks. Yet again, another week. I'm torn between 2. One was purely rock. One's a mixture. Definitely before it became mainstream. Dark Gaia decks was definitely one of my best decks. The ability to run 3 Dark Fusion, 3 Dark Calling. This guy comes out with the spell card. He's unaffected with Dark Fusion. Then you can Fusion Summon by removing with Dark Calling. It was a broken deck, but more along the lines of going to rocks probably was my defense OTK deck. And it ran mainly monsters. It ran like Castlegate, and the only non-rock type I ran in there was Giant Rats to get Castlegate out. But it all revolved around drawing into Unity. And since rock monsters have such high defense, what Unity does is it combines all the defense of all your face-up monsters and puts it on one monster. And it's a quick play. So what I would do would be line up my field with a bunch of big defense monsters, let my opponent attack into one of them, and then I'd play Unity. It was funny to watch people's faces when they would run into an OTK in defense. Like they would come at me with a 1500 monster attacking my little 900 monster, and all of a sudden he went from being 900 to being over 8,000 when I combined everything on my field. And they thought, this is going to be an easy hit. And then they lost the game. So probably my best deck, most unexpected. I wouldn't say it was my most consistent deck, because getting Unity to your hand before Gold Sark came along was pretty hard. But definitely one of my favorites to run, just for the surprise factor of hitting them with a defense OTK. So what about you, Eddie? Eddie. Hello.
Where is he? Did he fall asleep on us?
Sorry.
Are we that boring?
You're
one of those things to where I've had one of those kinds of weeks to where I've just been so wiped with college. It's one of those, I'm shutting myself down. And it's like,
we're almost finished. Your favorite rock deck or rock?
Never had a rock deck. Nomad.
Okay, well, I guess I'm probably gonna go with. It's not really a fully rock deck, but like I mentioned earlier, I had a Guardian Sphinx build a few years ago, which was pretty much Just like, I mean, it changed quite a bit, but the main idea was to have my Guardian Sphinxes, and I also ran Helpomer in there too. And yes, I know he's not a rock, yada yada yada, but it was interesting because it was a card that I wanted to have attacked when I made my tribute set, whereas Guardian Sphinx wasn't. And by playing them both in the same kind of build, it was like it allowed me to kind of play the mental game a lot better than like especially game 2 where like a little bit later on where they knew to attack it or not to. I think I also ran something like Fairy Box and a couple of really other strange cards in that deck. I love Fairy Box. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of running it again in some deck because I played someone last week or 2 weeks ago now who ran a Fairy Box, and
I hate running into that card.
It was
Fairy Box, second coin toss.
Well, yeah, I mean even that, but I mean even just the Fairy Box, it was a very frustrating card because like even though like statistically I was still in the advantage, I had to gauge a backup plan for like all of my plays simply based on chance, right? And like I was attacking and it was never a for sure play. It was like, well, and I had to play a lot more conservatively than I would have normally, and that I think if he didn't have like a horrible hand, he could have really had me. Getting back to my decks, I guess I also had a really cool deck with magical hats that I bring up all the time, and it's kind of a rock deck because I ran Gigantus and I ran Grand Mole, and Grand Mole was actually one of my favorite cards in that deck because I could get out a couple of large monsters, or even just a guy like Ryo or something, and then have Grand Mole and or Spirit Reaper, and it was just like I'm pressing with only a couple monsters, but because I'm keeping the field small, it could put me in a great position. Other than that, I guess Rock Stun by default. It's a deck I've always kind of liked, and I don't know, guys. I mean, you can kind of go with the Gem Knights because a few of them are rock. I think a lot of them are rock, actually.
The Gem Knight deck can be ran with Rabbit too. So.
Well, for sure, and like I saw somebody playing that last week at my locals, and I didn't get to play them. I really wanted to, but
it's quite an interesting build, and I like the fact that Konami hasn't completely forgotten about fusions because most of your Gem Knights are fusions. That as far as your big beaters, other than like Gem Knight Pearl.
Oh, that's one guy, and what else is kind of cool is like in them being fusions and how like if you look at the rocks and how you have like all those gems, like a lot of them are made from just like insane compacting over the years, like over decades of all the compression, and then you create your like your diamonds and your janes and all that, and it's something that we can't even recreate on our own, basically. And yet, you know, it's like a fusion of minerals and everything, and to see that come into Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of cool.
Well, I guess to kind of end things out, again, I want to thank everybody who helped with the Relay for Life drive. As I've said, we're not stopping it. The link is down there. It has changed to our Monster Reborn image, but you can still click it, make donations. Congratulations to the people who won in the Duel for a Cure and in the raffle against cancer. And watch out for it. It's going to be an annual thing we're going to do at Midnight TCG. It's felt really good to be able to help a good cause. So this is definitely going to be an annual thing. New people signing up onto the boards. First thing you're going to see, because people weren't paying attention to the PM Midnight Fox in the announcement, is a user validation chat box. So once you've got on there, until you post in that chat box, you're not going to be able to post throughout the board or anywhere else. So post in there so I can get you validated, get you into our systems, and you're good. It's our way of controlling the spam bot population.
I like spam bots, though. A few of them are cool.
Right now, we have our poll up for the next week. Decide if we're going to do Midnight TCG annual awards and a King of the Forum on our boards. And we want to thank eRoll J again. Pretty soon here, they're going to be sending me a new shipment of iPhone 4 and 4S covers. So, and they're going to be Yu-Gi-Oh based. So you're going to have Yu-Gi-Oh covers for iPhone 4 and 4S. So for their continued support, we want to thank them. They said they've been getting clicks from our site, so that's good. But make sure you're using that code at the bottom, MTCG2012, and you're going to receive $5 off your order. So what
I forgot about that.
It's $5 off. We get more and more price support by them being able to take this and show that, hey, people are using it. Other than that, I think I covered promotions when I did the monthly announcements. Watch out for the Flash tournament. Will be rocks, but of course with a twist. So that is changed to Thursdays, so be on board, look it on Thursdays. I did allow 2 drops this past week, but that won't happen again. The only reason I did is because it was a pretty hard idea to wrap your head around. But if you post entering, you enter the tournament and you drop, you will be DQ'd for the rest of that prize tournament. So make sure you're reading the rules. I post a link to it every week for people to go in there and read how we do the Flash tournaments.
Nomad has something to say.
Yes, everyone should watch The Walking Dead. This is not a request. This is a requirement. It will be in the forum rules within the week.
People are forgetting about Deck of the Month. I don't want you guys to do that because in December, it's going to be our next prize Deck of the Month where we're going to have a theme. You're going to make your decks. Nomad won our last one with our wind theme. So definitely be paying attention to Deck of the Month and make sure you're getting your entries in next month.
Is it going to be rock themed? Is it going to be a Muka Muka themed month?
No.
Oh.
I can assume what it would be, but I won't say.
We did pick up a new intern mod who will possibly be full-time in Thought Mage, so make sure you're checking out his Card of the Week and Worst Card of the Week articles. The last couple reads have been pretty interesting. Make sure you're listening to the gaming podcasts, and just make sure basically you're looking all over the board. There's lots of ways to get prizes. We have our referral contest, we have Flash tournaments, we have Guess That Card contests. Tell
Also
your
just-
friends.
Go ahead.
Tell your friends. Bring them along right now. Eddie and Nomad are neck to neck on that. But it's when we hit 8,000 members. Whoever has the highest number of referrals is going to win that Exodia map. Another eRoll J exclusive. That came out of the Fox's pocket. But that's the kind of artwork they do. It's really good. And if you just can't remember how to get to eRollJ.com, click the little link at the bottom. It'll take you right to their board. So if you want a custom-made play mat, go there. Use the code MTCG2012. Get some money off of that order.
If you guys want also, if we're not able to, because right now we've kind of got a 4th in the Midnight Gamers podcast, we're potentially looking for another guest, not next week, but maybe the week after, if she isn't able to make it back from this week.
All right.
We're going to be looking for people to possibly fill in another slots. That way it's not Bulba and I going back and forth at each other when Jin, or while Jin is down with his sickness. Never mind.
Get better, buddy. See,
So,
are going to Fox have to guest star.
Well, or Microsoft Gizaki.
He could do that Microsoft voice thing to where he sounds like Mr. Crap, can't think of his name now.
We know it'd be cool if he, like, once his voice gets better again, if he can, like, record, like, every word that he could possibly say into a computer program to the point of where if he loses his voice again, he can just use that program and just talk normally, but, like, very lagged.
It's kind of like Stephen Hawking. I just remembered his name.
Exactly. Stephen Hawking. Yeah.
And last but not least, something we're going to start doing weekly, at least for our Competitive Edge podcasts. We didn't get any questions this week, but Q&A, live in the chat box. We usually do it Sundays around 10-ish. So post up your questions in there. We'll read them live on the air and answer your questions. Give you a little shout out as to who it's from. So if you can't be part of the podcast, post your questions. It can be about whatever the theme is that week, which we usually mention in the chat box, or it could just be general question about some of the people who star in the podcast. But I think we've rambled on enough. I hope that this has been somewhat entertaining to the people who are listening. Definitely, I think we put some good ideas out there for some people. And so, this is Midnight Fox and Nomad and Eddie, and we're signing off for the Competitive Edge. We'll see you next week.
Milka Milka for all.